How's everyone doing? This is the Arana Nation, and before I begin with this video, I'd like to remind all of my very special fans, and you are all very special to the Arana Nation indeed, that you can go down to the comment section, and at the comment section of this video, there is a pinned link that you can click on, and once you click on it, you will be at a website where you can buy your very first Arana Nation t-shirts. And the Arana Nation has done something it has never done. It has made the very first Arana Nation t-shirts. Go down to the link that is pinned at the comment section of this video. Hit that link and you will be prompted to go to the website where you can buy your very first sexy Arana Nation t-shirts in white, light gray, or dark gray. Do it after this video. So, Kathleen Cowperthwaite, Jezebel Wynne, as I call her, or Kathleen Wynne, as most people know her as, the current Premier of Ontario, is coming out with this big spending budget. And basically, she's just bribing the people of Ontario, something she does before every election. She did it last election, 2014, coming out with this big spending budget, and now she's come out with free drugs, free education, free dental care, free daycare, money for hospitals and mental health, even though she cut funding for people with autism to help them if they were over 5. We all remember that. And now she's come out with all this free stuff. Well, I've got a message for the current Premier of Ontario, Kathleen Jezebel Cowperthwaite Wynne. You can take all of your free drugs. You can take all of your free education. You can take all of your free dental care. You can take all of your free daycare. And you can take all the rest of the bribes that you have hiding in your back pocket and you can shove it. That's right. And I've got another message. And this is for anybody in Ontario who has already or is tempted to fall for yet another con and bribe from our current Premier of Ontario, Kathleen Jezebel Cowperthwaite Wynne. If you actually, after all the abuse, after all the high hydro rates, and all the expensive cost of living in Ontario, and all the jobs that we've lost, and all the people who have been laid off in this province or have had their hours cut, after the current Liberal government cut funding and care for people with autism over 5, funding that helped them, for all the cuts to education, after all the cuts in healthcare, after all that, you actually vote for Kathleen Jezebel Cowperthwaite Wynne just because she's giving you more free stuff? You are nothing but a chump. You are nothing but a chump. And you are the reason why this province and this country is in the state that it's in today. Because we have many people, not a lot, but enough people who are chumps who will vote for people who can con the living daylights out of us only to live another day politically and shaft us again. Well, I am not a chump. The Arana Nation's not a chump. We are not chumps. My subscribers are not chumps, and my fans are not chumps, and we are not going to be voting for Kathleen Jezebel Cowperthwaite Wynne just because she comes out with a few free stuff, thinking that we're all just a bunch of freeloaders and we're all just gonna bow down and cast our ballot for the Liberals just because they give us a few extra free stuff. Now let's look at the history, folks. Back in 2014, the Liberals did the same thing, and a lot of people's memories are short, but the election of 2014 was actually supposed to take place in 2015. But what happened was that the NDP, at the time, it wasn't controlled by the Liberals like it is now. Andrea Horwath said she was not going to support that budget. And I applauded her for that. And I stood up and I gave the NDP a great big round of applause for standing up to Jezebel and for understanding that that budget was nothing but a con. Well, Jezebel called an election, an early election. And she said, I am different from Dalton McGuinty. I am no Dalton McGuinty. Things will be different. I will be more caring. I will be more compassionate than Dalton McGuinty. And the people of Ontario were conned because there were a lot of chumps out there. And they voted for Jezebel and gave her a majority. Well, what happened after that? The Liberal government of Ontario cut funding for people with autism, cut the services and care that they were given autistic people if they were above 5 years of age, cut that off. They made serious cuts to education. In fact, they made heavy cuts to the music industry in our schools. So music, band, all that stuff got a huge beating from the government. Those fine arts that children rely on to enrich their minds, cut that. Made huge cuts to healthcare, made huge cuts all across the board, saying that they wanted to balance the budget. Well, I personally think they should cut some of their salaries, some of the stuff that these guys are making. The CEO of Hydro One, a millionaire. The CEO of many of these crown corporations are millionaires. These are government oligarchs, and I can't stand them. CEO of LCBO, these guys are making big ducats. But no, we got to cut services for autistic people over the age of 5, cut general arts for our students in our schools, make all sorts of deep and heavy cuts, not to mention we pay some of the highest taxes in the country, if not the world. Our debt is the largest sub-regional, sub-sovereign debt of the world. Ontario has the largest debt of any sub-sovereign region on the planet. That is a disgrace. And we have nothing to show for it because we were just making a bunch of cuts. Not to mention the expensive cost of living in Ontario, the high hydro rates, the broken families who have been murdered financially because of our hydro rates, thanks to Jezebel. And then not to mention privatizing a monopoly, aka Hydro One. Now don't get me wrong, I am not against privatization. In fact, I think the less assets that government have, it's the better. I think government needs less assets. The people need more assets and the government needs less. And there is a big difference between people and the government, even though the socialists like to say, oh, well, the government is the people and government organizations are the people's company. That's a public company. No, it's not. You think Metrolinx is a public company? Let me tell you something about public transit in Ontario. Public transit in Ontario, the people of Ontario are extremely dissatisfied with public transit in Ontario. All over the place. You go on review after review after review. You can go on Google. You can go on all these review sites. And our public transit services, they have one star, maybe 2 stars. So, no, it's not a public corporation because we can't go in there and demand change. So it's not a public corporation. But Jezebel made a monopoly from a public oligarchy to a private oligarchy. What she should have done is divided up the companies, broken up the Hydro One monopoly, said that we are going to have competition in the hydro industry, and divvied and just put all those stocks on the stock market so the people can get into that pie instead of making a monopoly go from public to private. Monopoly is bad either way, whether it's public or private. And as a result, our hydro rates got even higher. Not to mention the Green Energy Act, which made our hydro rates even higher, which was introduced by the Liberals and supported by the Socialist NDP, who claim to be a separate party, but in reality, they're nothing more than a puppet party of the Liberals. And that's why the Arana Nation is supporting and endorsing Doug Ford. Doug Ford is a people person, and he has proven himself to be a people person. And one thing that I really like about Doug Ford is that he gives out his private phone number. So even if you don't agree with Doug Ford on a lot of issues, you can still call him, and he will call you back. I can prove that because he's called me back on numerous occasions and people who I know, and you can get your point across. That is something that I like about the Ford family. And I'm endorsing Doug Ford and the Ontario PCs. But I'm mainly telling Kathleen Jezebel Cowperthwaite Wynne that she can take her bribes and shove them. This is the Arana Nation, and the Arana Nation will never die.